Hey otakus, your tour guide here, what's up? It's Thursday and I did pick up some comics. I picked up 6 comics, but this is not a haul video because what we're going to do is we're going to wait to get a book. So I picked up 6 books, but I have another book that's coming, or that I actually have to go pick up. So basically, Ethan at Destiny City Comics, shout out to them, posted a book on his Instagram for a really great price. I saw it and I was like, man, that's a good price. So I claimed it, and he's holding it at the shop for me. Destiny City Comics is located in Tacoma, which is about, I want to say it's an hour away. So just going down there, picking it up is like 2 hours. Oftentimes there's traffic. You have to head into downtown Tacoma, so it's not the easiest trek. But we're gonna reserve some time this month. I don't know, between work and the weekend and spending family time, I'm gonna find about 2 hours to drive down there, pick up this book, and we'll share it when we get in our possession. We'll share it in the next haul video. So whenever I get around to that next haul video is coming up, and we picked up some pretty key books, nice books, and of course that book that I'm picking up from Destiny City Comics will be the book of the haul. That'll be the last book I reveal, so I'll look forward to that. And while I'm giving a shout out to Ethan at Destiny City Comics, go follow them on Instagram. So if you're local here to Washington, to Seattle, check out the shop. Go to Tacoma, check out the shop. I'm sure most of you have. He's got a wonderful shop. Ethan's just great. Just love his energy on social media. Meeting him, I met him in person, and he's just an amazing community member. He also is like an amateur wrestler, like WWE type amateur wrestling, local here. So go and support his shop. He does also support online orders. So if you're following him on Instagram, you can follow what he posts on Instagram and claim, and then email him that you'd like to claim it, and he'll ship. He'll coordinate the shipment with you and payment with you, and you'll have it in a few days. So again, online, and again, if you're local, you can go to the shop, pick it. Luckily, I'm local, so whenever I see something on there, I don't have to deal with shipping or paying for it. I just ask him to hold the book for me, and he responds, and then I find time to visit the shop and go pick it up. So it's really convenient. I don't have to travel all the way down there to dig through long boxes and whatnot. I can kind of see his new inventory because he posts new stuff and old stuff up quite consistently on Instagram daily, so it's nice. So this is not a haul video. What it is we're going to cover just a random selection of books. I just kind of dug through some of my boxes here, and I pulled out my most iconic covers. Now, people use that term relatively liberally, and everybody understands the meaning of iconic. When they say iconic cover, you're really talking about just a great cover. But the dictionary definition of iconic is relating to an icon. An icon is actually a picture, image, or representation, kind of like iconography, right? Just it's something like an image that is symbolic. Some of the dictionary definitions put iconic as something that's revered or idolized. An image or person or thing that's idolized. So a person can be an icon. definitely Jim Lee is like an icon for me. So it's Peach Momoko. And of course, we had to kind of be more specific in this video. So I'm purposefully leaving out Jim Lee comic books, Peach Momoko comic books, because really I could just blindly select any of their covers and they're iconic to me. So I'd take those out of the equation because I'm biased. With that being said, all of these covers here on my shelf fall into the category of iconic covers. Any one of these are iconic covers. So that's kind of gives you sort of an idea of what I mean. So it's not a key book. We're not targeting key books. We're really targeting the artwork, the image, and sort of, I guess, the emotion that it invokes, the cover invokes. Like, wow, yeah, that's iconic. Like there's really no, when you see it, you know it, and it really has less to do with the book, because you know, there are a lot of like key books where the art is just like kind of like eh, and then there are just like a lot of books that are not keys, but the covers just like they're cover buys because they're just, again, that's kind of that's the sweet spot, right? Just like, wow, this isn't a key book, but that cover is amazing. And so there's a lot of books that kind of fall into that. And so again, this is my sort of random list of iconic covers. It's my definition of iconic, and so you can disagree, agree, whatever, but I hope you watch and enjoy and like my picks. But we'll get going here. Now, I did mention Ethan, and I mentioned that I had him hold a book for me that I went and picked up and bought, and that's this one. It's Marvel Comics Presents 79, and that is an iconic cover right there. Boom. Oh my goodness, that's an iconic cover. The headgear, the Weapon X headgear. That just not, that image, iconic. That's kind of what we're, that's the sweet spot right there. That's what we're focusing on. So Barry Windsor Smith, another iconic cover. Boom. Mike Sadowski. This is the last Mike Sadowski book on this early Justice League run. Really the end of an era. You could almost like Justice League up to issue 63 was Mike Sadowski's, and when he left the book, this is his last book, when he left the book, it just didn't, it lost a big chunk of its identity right there. And what a cover to go out on, man. That's just an amazing, awesome cover and image. I love this cover. This is just, that is iconic right there. Iconic. Yeah. Moving on. Now, these aren't, again, I have probably some more iconic covers in my collection that I just didn't pull out. So it's not like this is not a comprehensive list by any means. It's just, I just did a random pull, so these are just random books, but I pulled them from, I want to say 4 boxes, but not too many of them are like my top tier books, so just keep that in mind. This is an iconic cover as well. and that's Shazam number 3. Shazam comes, DC essentially, buys out the rights to Shazam, and then they launch a title book, and pretty much the covers, like 1 and 2, the covers are okay. They're not great, but this cover right here with the black and the yellow lightning kind of reminds you of Black Adam, which the trailer dropped today, and I'm excited. That Black Adam movie looks really good. I can only imagine what it's going to be like on the big screen, like just seeing all that, all the electricity and hearing having the sound effects and everything. Is just going to be an incredible movie-going experience, I feel like. Anyway, this cover by CC Beck is just iconic. Has the Marvel family there, just very simple, basic. You got the trade dress, and again the colors there, black, red, yellow. It just pops. So, boom, iconic. I have an opportunity actually to get another copy of this. I think it'll be a better copy, so we're gonna try to pick that one up as well. What else? Yeah, War of the Gods. George Perez. I love this cover as well. Iconic. Just so much going on. And I also put this one in there as well. Rick Buckler, Wonder Woman. That is a beautiful cover right there. So 2 great covers. Covers I would consider iconic. This is an iconic cover. I just love this one. It's, it shows a cover kind of like a mirror image where you see like an infinite amount of images in the back, and they pulled this off quite remarkably. It looks real, like a real, like the physics of it looks like so real. So yeah, this is just an amazing cover by Ross Andrew. Superman 500. You gotta love that 70s Supergirl outfit. She's like go-go shorts and boots. Pretty snazzy. Now, yeah, sometimes covers, these iconic covers are on key books. Sometimes they're not. This next one is definitely a key book. When Bane breaks Batman's back, that image is just seared into the memories of all comic book readers who read this book. It's such a, like, it's the crack heard around the world. Such a big moment. And yeah, definitely iconic cover. I feel like there are a lot of iconic Batman covers. You could go probably a million different directions with, because he's such a, I think I covered the top Batman covers in my collection, and I covered why Batman covers are so special, because they're really an identity in and of itself. But go back and watch them. But yeah, Full Moon, Batman, Year One, where he first dons this is the moment he dons the costume and strikes fear into the hearts of the criminals. Love that cover, Dave Mazzucchelli cover. And this is, I guess we'll start here first. This Mike Zeck cover of Storm Shadow and Destro doesn't get more iconic than that. Does not get more iconic than that. Just a beautiful, like, who's gonna win this stalemate? Who's gonna win that? My money's on Storm Shadow. Yeah, my money's on Storm Shadow. All right. So this cover. Let me take you back into a time machine. For those of you youngins who are watching my channel, I'll take you back into a time machine, back to, I believe this was 1994, 95. Yeah, I think it was 95. Maybe 94. No. I believe it was 95, yeah, 95. And basically, up to this point, comics were pretty much like serial runs, and you had an occasional crossover, like Secret Wars, where I guess Secret Wars is the best example. Secret Wars was a crossover where you had like Hulk, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, their individual titles incorporate a story and then kind of blend in and cover that story across. So actually, Secret Wars is a bad example. Secret Wars is just kind of like they took the characters and they put them in one series of books, like a 12-series mini-series books. They take all the characters. So that's Secret Wars. But eventually crossovers came to be where like you had individual titles and they came together for one unit, and then they carry that same unifying story across multiple titles. So I guess a good example would be Inferno, or what's another good one? Like Fall of the Mutants, right? These were titles that went across all the mutant titles, and the mutant titles would have their own individual stories, but they'd all be connected to that main story. And up to this point, these stories kind of focused on the continuity of the universe. And I think the first time we see a disruption, like a space-time continuum disruption, is in Age of Apocalypse. Now I'm assuming it's the first time. I'm sure there's, you have iterations of like What If is an iteration of like a multiverse. I'm sure maybe there's something I haven't read or hadn't read, but to my knowledge, this is the first time where we have an alternate timeline that incorporates a huge crossover, because this was across not only, Age of Apocalypse was specific to the mutant titles, but its reach was across the span of Marvel. Marvel really kind of put the brakes on whatever storylines and went with this alternative future. And this is when they started introducing, the 2099. It all stemmed from this big event that was spurred by the killing of Professor X by Legion, his son. And so it was a huge comic event back in the mid-90s. And I ended up buying every issue, and I what bugs me is I actually traded some of those things away from my original collection, because they weren't worth much. These are all dollar-billed books now, but after giving them, I'm going to try to rebuild the Age of Apocalypse again. I think that's something I can focus on, because I had the entire run, including the comics leading up to and the comics following The Age of Apocalypse. But I had the entire run, and it's one thing like right now if I was to pick that up, it's a big chore because you're just looking for it in long box after long box, and it's a lot of books. But at the time, I was just picking them up as they were coming out. So you're picking up maybe 6-7 books a month. You're pulling them over a series of 4 months, 4 or 5 months, right? Probably half a year. So you're kind of spreading out 6-7 books over half a year. It ends up being quite a lot, but again, it's one of those things where they all come out at once. You get them at the same time at your LCS. Not that big of a chore, but my point being, this cover, I think they showed the cover on in Wizard as a preview to what's coming, because it was building up. Everything was building up toward Age of Apocalypse, like the event that ignited the timeline to be disrupted and create this alternate future. And when that happened, it's kind of like, okay, it happened. Now here's what's going to happen. Here's the Age of Apocalypse. And I remember seeing this cover in Wizard or wherever it was being promoted or previewed, and it's a Joe Madureira cover, and I just remember peeing my pants and being sitting in my pee pants smiling, cause look at that, look at those character designs. I mean, you have Magneto and Wolverine fighting on the same side. Wolverine's missing a hand. You're just kind of looking at this cover and going what the F went on here? And right off the get-go, this did not disappoint. This book was just so chock full of action and you had to get all the books and just keep up with it. And that was the first real multi-book, multi-issue, different timeline kind of cover, big event in Marvel. And they're pretty common now. I think they have a model. This was very successful, so this wasn't the first, but it was leading up to this, and then when this had success, they kept kind of tweaking and following that model, which is great, because it really does present it ties together a series of narratives and characters, and then brings them together for it's just a beautiful thing to read and get through. It's an arduous one because there's a lot of books, there's a lot of characters, but at the end, when everything resolves, you just immensely it's kind of like an amusement park ride. It's wow, what did I just experience? And it leaves you highly satisfied. So yeah, if you haven't read Age of Apocalypse, it's a big read, but I would definitely recommend it, and definitely one of the best. I kind of regret trading away all those books now that I think about it. I'm gonna try to pick up and reconstruct this entire run just for nostalgic purposes. Alright, back to covers, iconic covers. But yeah, X-Men Alpha, the start of the Age of Apocalypse, doesn't get any more iconic than this blue chromium cover. It's a wraparound. It's beautiful art by Joe Madureira. Amazing. Okay. Say this next cover is an iconic image is an understatement. It's just absolute art right there. Everything about this cover is just beautiful. I think the one thing, if I could make this improve this, is I would just have Superman. I'd take this DC logo out, the issue number, and all these like I would just make it a version cover with just the Superman logo, the trade dress logo. That image would be an amazing cover right there. Just Superman in the image, nothing else. But of course, I don't do the design layouts for covers, but even with all the descriptive stuff in there, it's still a pretty amazing cover. Alex Ross, Superman at sunset, boom. All right, so the next cover is a little bit of a controversial one. I mean, and I think most people don't know why it's controversial, but I'll explain. And that's this book here, Ghost in the Shell. Now, Ghost in the Shell, for those of you who've watched, I'm sure most of you, if you're a geek like me, and you grew up in the era of the 90s like me, you've watched Ghost in the Shell. Even if you haven't grown up in the 90s with access to media and everything, you can go back and watch like anime, right? Anime movies and whatnot. I'm sure most of you have watched Ghost in the Shell. Now, Ghost in the Shell, the comics, this is manga, and Ghost in the Shell, the movie, are very, very different. And for me, Ghost in the Shell, the movie, is one of the best pieces of cinema you will ever experience. And you have to watch it on the big screen, okay? You have to watch it on the big screen. So I know that's hard to do because I think they just released like the 30th year or the 25th year anniversary of Ghost in the Shell. They released the remastered version. They did this in theaters in Tokyo, I know that for a fact, but I think they did some screenings here in America as well. I did not get a chance to see it. I wanted to. I don't think they did a screening in Seattle, that's the reason. But I do know they have a anime fest here in downtown Seattle at one of the theaters, and they show a bunch of like studio Ghibli movies, and they show a bunch of animation, Japanese animation, modern and past, and they always show. So I'm lucky, we get every now and then it'll come. You just pay a movie ticket like $12, just sit in a theater and watch this masterpiece. So yeah, getting back to my point, the comic and the manga are very different, and my recommendation is to go watch the animation, and if you can, watch it on the big screen. I just can't emphasize it enough. It's to be enjoyed on a wide screen with all the detailed audio, that great soundtrack, the taiko drums, the Japanese funeral music, traditional funeral music infused with this great score, and just again, if we're talking about iconography, iconic images, that movie from start to finish is just a series of like iconic art. And the director Mamoru Oshii is just, I mean, he doesn't even need to do anything else, and he's just a legend for putting that piece of work out. But again, that movie was based on the manga by Masamune Shiro, and this guy is a little bit controversial because I think there were allegations that he, that he had like, or his images were a little bit pornographic. They kind of had images of like, child pornography, and he just was like a very like sketchy guy in terms of like the art and stuff he focused on. uh, and his manga is very, I mean, it's great art. The manga art itself is pretty good, but it's not like, he's just one of many amazing artists in Japan, and so it's not like, again, he's a great artist, but it's not like he's a standout artist. And Ghost in the Shell, the manga, is, I want to say it deals with, it has a vision, I say, that comes out in the movie, but I think the movie is its own masterpiece based off, again, the ideations that are brought out in this movie. And there are a lot of themes like, about what AI is, soul of an AI, where technology is heading. Are we, do we reach a point where technology controls us, or are we controlling the technology? And it's just, there are a lot of themes like that in the manga, but the manga itself is kind of, it borders on a little like ridiculous, and it's violent and sort of crude, and I don't know. For me, the manga is just a pale comparison to the movie. Let's just put it that way. But this is definitely an iconic image. This is again the Ghost in the Shell ahy-kon comic that was a supplement to Wizard. This comic also came out as a trade paperback, and also came out as a series of comics from Dark Horse, which took the original Japanese manga, just translated it into English, and put out a really interesting series for the first Ghost in the Shell. Now this has like scenes from the movie, but it is not the movie. The movie and this are quite different in terms of like storyline and what it deals with. The movie itself is a story in and of itself. So for those of you reading this and thinking, hey, that's not the movie, like, again, they're two different separate things. But that is an iconic cover of of our heroine, and you gotta love again the characters that were created for this series. Section 9 and Major Kusanagi, and she's just looking, she's all hooked up. Her robot parts are, again, she's completely an android. She has a human brain, and the question of whether she's real or not haunts her, not only in the movie, but in the subsequent animation series as well. Just great. It's a great comic character. All right, that was a big sort of detailed description. But here we go. This is another iconic cover, and it's John Byrne, Man of Steel, the variant cover. And it's iconic because that S is iconic. Okay? The Superman chess logo is iconic. I don't think there's a symbol in comics that's more of a recognizable brand image than that. Right? Like, and that's pretty much stayed the same since, like, actually it's changed a little bit, like from since the golden age has changed, but I would say after a certain point in the silver age, this is stayed consistent, and it shouldn't change. It's like changing like, I just can't think of an analogy. You just don't change things that are classic, and that's why this is an iconic cover. It just focusing on that reveal here, when Clark becomes Superman, transforms just with the simple, taking off of the dress shirt. Boom. Okay, so the next covers, I mean, up to this point, I think, again, these are my, these are what makes, these books are what make me think of, like, conjure up the word iconic, basically, up to this point. And I think the subsequent books are also so, but I think a lot of these are kind of up for debate. I'm sure a lot of you on that last one also probably were thinking, oh, I disagree. Fair enough. I don't collect Hulk, and I don't. There are a lot of titles I don't collect, but when I see an image or a great cover, that again, that it conjures up that word of iconic, and for me, this Hulk cover is that. This is also a John Byrne cover, Hulk 317, and man, is it a beautiful cover right there, Hulk 317. And with Hulk 317, now that I've mentioned it, I know we left Peach Momoko books and Jim Lee books off the list, but we probably could have left John Byrne off the list too, because John Byrne is kind of in the same, he's in the same category of, like, whatever he puts on a cover or whatever he draws, it just screams like iconic. And so just like that whole cover I just showed off, this one here, iconic. This is it's kind of like, here you get a sense that you're breaking the fourth wall here. So he does it so well in the 90s She-Hulk books where he breaks that fourth wall, but it's not like the first time it was done. Like, this cover is a great example of, like, John Byrne right there, breaking the fourth wall along with Doom, holding that sign. it's just an iconic cover. Not necessarily for the image. The image is good too, but again, just for that engagement with the reader there. Honest Dr. Doom is not in this Marvel comic, and Byrne there in the bottom. It's just a hilarious cover that kind of precludes the great work John Byrne did on the She-Hulk, 90s She-Hulk run. Another iconic, this is I think the 20th anniversary cover of the Fantastic Four, and you just got the entire Marvel universe there. Again, amazing. And yeah, I mean it's supposed to be Kirby there in the corner. I always thought it was Stan. It's just a weird looking. It's supposed to be Stan or Jack Kirby, one of the guys, but you got the entire, just a beautiful cover by John Byrne. You can see why he's just a legend, and again, one of my all-time favorite artists. This next one is iconic. Like anytime you get a book, a good example would be like a lot of these covers here are on T-shirts, they're on posters. They're just that's a good indication that it's an iconic image. If the image ends up on a comic and then on a T-shirt or a poster and really carries through pop culture, that's a strong sign. And that's what we get here with this Keith Pollard cover of Amazing Spider-Man, just jumping through the city and out into your living room or bedroom, wherever you're reading this comic. Spider-Man 186, iconic cover. I guess you can make the same argument for our next cover. Iron Man 191. This is sort of an homage to Tales of, what is it? I forget what the first appearance of Iron Man is. I think it's Tales of Suspense something. But it features Mark 1 of the suit, the first iteration of Iron Man suit, which he just looks like Tin Man. It's like literally like a medieval suit of armor in the original Iron Man. And that was like the first issue of Iron Man, or the first appearance of Iron Man. And this art by Luke McDonald is essentially just an homage to that image. And great cover, I think. But not only do we get the original suit, but they do actually a better job of kind of modernizing that original suit to make it more in line with the current image or design of Iron Man at the time, right? More in line with this image there. But just great cover. Beautiful Iron Man cover. Now, the next are kind of like the same image, but man, for those of you who have this in your collection, and I'm sure most of you do, it's a pretty common book. This is also, I think, this was the second best-selling comic book behind Jim Lee's X-Men. And that's this amazing cover by Todd McFarlane, which he homaged again with a black suit 1 year later in issue 13. And these are just two iconic covers, essentially the same cover, just different colored suits. And the thing about that Spider-Man is, like, when it dropped, like, it was just like you had to have it, right? And then a year later he comes out with the exact same image with the black costume. You're just like, all right, take my money. And yeah, Todd has a way of doing that. Todd has a way of like hyping things up and dropping an iconic cover image that makes you want to go out and buy the book. So definitely as a gift for cover art and art, just art in general, right? But particularly the cover art. He's a master of covers. Another masterful cover is classic X-Men #1. Now, say what you will about Giant Size X-Men #1. You know, say what you will about that work. You know, Giant Size X-Men 1 is just, it's iconic. It's iconic. Not only for the art, but, you know, being the first appearance of that new generation of X-Men, introducing all those iconic characters, right? And again, Gil Kane, that cover by Gil Kane is iconic and just classic. And then fast forward about a decade, and they come out with this, which, you know, is essentially like a reprinting with some additional background story and context to that original giant-sized issue. And that's classic X-Men. Now, this has the original, you know, Dave Cockrum art in it, and you know, covers the Len Wein story, but the major difference is this classic X-Men trade dress and the Art Adams cover. And you've probably seen this on like a poster or a t-shirt or just somewhere, like, just this image was just so, you know, it was just so commercialized. And for good reason. I mean, it's just a beautiful, got all the characters there, Wolverine at the center, just beautiful. And yeah, this next image is pretty much, yeah, enough said, as Stan would say. Enough said. Don't really need to say much. Mark Silvestri, Logan being crucified on an X cross. What more can you say? And then our last image is sort of a paying homage to the late great Stan Lee. And this is another iconic cover by John Byrne, where he breaks the fourth wall with this character who's supposed to be like based off, I think, Stan Lee. The innuendo is definitely there. The image is there. Just this creepy guy. Hey guys, what's big and green and has a staple in her navel? And he's just being creepy to She-Hulk throughout this book. But yeah, I mean, this precluded again this She-Hulk run, and sort of just, I guess, you know, I think it was definitely a precursor to how John Byrne would approach covers and the She-Hulk line, the run, the story. And you know, John Byrne wrote and did all the direction for that She-Hulk book. You kind of get a preview of it here in these issues, where he's doing the book, and She-Hulk's part of the Fantastic Four. So, but this cover right here is just iconic. Again, you've got Stan, She-Hulk. Can't get more iconic than that, just based off the two characters on the cover. Alright, so that is my just a random selection of iconic covers from my collection. I do have a lot more, and of course the key iconic books in my collection, 13 of them remain at CGC. Sorry, 14 of them, because I just sent in a Peach Momoko book. 14 of them remain at CGC. I have not received updates on the status of the 2 orders I was expecting to see. Now they have received my Peach Momoko book. The shipping, the tracking number is in the system. It's just they haven't entered the book or verified and entered into their system yet. So still waiting for that to happen on the Peach Momoko. I'm sure it'll happen over the next several days or whatnot, but it's taking longer than normal, or what they normally advertise upon reception of the book to enter it into the system. We still have, I think, 3 weeks. We're still 3 weeks out from the Peach Momoko signing event, which I'm very excited about. I'm really looking forward to getting that book back, and that, I think, when we get that book back, that book could end up being, depending on the grade, but I think that book could end up being one of the corner pieces of the PC. Definitely is a big book. So looking forward to get that back. And let me know in the comments. Let me know what again, if you're watching this, I've issued you the challenge. So what I'd like you to do is just, tag me, or I guess the best way is just to tag me, like OTG or something, and post up some of your iconic books either on Instagram or on a YouTube video, and issue the challenge to other creators, and let's see where this goes. Hopefully some of you participate and engage with me on what your definitions of iconic covers are and what your representations of those are. I'd love to see them, and then mention them in the comments also below, like a book you think deserves that mantle of iconic. Because again, there's just so many books. You could literally just talk about iconic books and argue about which ones are and aren't till the cows come home. Definitely this Eric Larson cover, and I'm still miffed about the grade. It should be a 9.0. I'm the more and more I look at that book, the more and more I'm convinced the slight crease, which is non-existent, and the light tanning on the very back of the top part of that book did not warrant an 8.0. Not at all. But anyway, that's an iconic cover. All these books are. I love this. I'm so glad I got the page punchers. It just with the toy and everything. It's just one of just love having it up there. Just love having it up there. These books are just big books, and shout out to my close friend who lent me this great Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book to read. I read it. I did a video on it. I'm going to return the book to him soon. It's a third print. It's still you can't get any more iconic than the art in this book. was just so innovative, and you know, just the idea of turtles mutating and becoming ninjas trained by a mutated rat and all that. It's just a great story in comic. It's what makes comics great. Really just sort of set the stage for Eastman and Laird to create one of the best comic book franchises, really out of thin air, right? They came out of nowhere. Then you have Byrne, Frank Miller. Yeah. So yeah, again, went over some of the iconic covers. Again, you didn't see Peach Momoko, you didn't see Jim Lee. I left them out on purpose. Hope you like it, and hope you take up the challenge. Show me your best iconic covers, and we'll see you back in the next one. Thanks for watching.